Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. Some of us are going to be celebrating the 15th anniversary of Halloween 2 from 2009, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. When I say some people, it is because Halloween 2 is considered one of the worst, if not the worst Halloween in the entire franchise. But before we begin, this video is just going to be the same standard format as it was before. I will give you my memories of the movie, in this case Halloween 2, and then you get the chance to share your memories of seeing this film, usually for the first time at the end of the video. Now, for Halloween 2, I probably got the most comments I've ever had on social media with regards to memories. Of course, some of the comments that you've left aren't memories, so I can't read those ones out, but I will select a few memories out and I'll read them at the end. So stay tuned to the end of the video to see if your memory get read out. Now, this is one that I don't really have fond memories of, and the funny thing is, even though it was only 15 years ago, I've probably got less memories of this one than I do a film 25, 30 years ago, and I think it's because of the impact that not only the film had on me, but the film had on the franchise as a whole. As you know, Halloween 2 from 2009 was the last film in the Halloween franchise for them to go, do you know what? We're going to have to down tools now and try and think of something else. Of course, they tried to do Halloween 3D when 3D was quite popular and they were trying to bring Rob Zombie back for that. But eventually they decided against that, fine, luckily. And then they went on 2018 with David Gordon Green's trilogy. But funnily enough, my memories of Halloween 2, getting into Halloween 2 expecting something good, because believe it or not, I actually thought at the time Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007 was actually okay. I didn't like the first half of it with the lead up to Michael becoming an adult, because even back then I didn't like that we knew too much about Michael. But when it got to the adult section of Michael Myers in the first movie, it was decent. It was a shot for shot remake almost, but it was still a decent remake at the same time. So when Rob Zombie announced Halloween 2 was coming out, I thought, do you know what? I'm looking forward to it. It doesn't look too bad from the trailers, and it looks like he's trying to give us something new and fresh, which I completely appreciate. I just remember taking my wife to see this film. This is the first film we saw together as a couple. Now, I'd seen the remake in the cinema myself with my friends before I met my wife, but I was already with her in 2009, so I thought, let's go and see this. This will be the first Halloween movie you see in the cinema, and I'm sure it'll be a great experience for you. But honestly, throughout the entire film, people were scratching their heads. I was scratching my head. My wife was looking at me angry, thinking, why are you taking me to see this piece of crap? And I turned around and I said to her, I'm really sorry. I had no idea the film was going to be this bad. I remember coming out of the cinema and seeing people shaking their heads still, saying that was terrible. And I said to myself it was terrible, but I thought, is there something I was missing here in this movie? Yes, of course, Rob Zombie wanted to bring back Sheri Moon again, so they brought back the ghost of her and the white horse and the visions. It was all terrible, but then I said to myself, maybe I really need to see this again to really take it in. Maybe there's something that I'm missing. So I waited until the film came out on DVD, bought the DVD, watched it again, and I was still scratching my head thinking, that has to be the worst Halloween film I have ever seen. Years later though, 15 years later to be precise, is it still the worst Halloween film? Maybe not. Over time, I think there's been this kind of cult following for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, more so than his remake in 2007. I don't see the cult trend in this film. I still think it's a terrible movie, but I will say I don't think it is the worst film in the franchise anymore. And what I think saves it is the beginning of the movie, the dream sequence as they call it, when she's in the hospital. I thought the beginning of the film, even when I first watched it, I was enjoying it. I thought this is going to be a really good film. But when she woke up, it just all went downhill from there. 15 years on, I really don't understand the cult status that Halloween 2 is gaining. Maybe it is because it is considered the worst film in the franchise, and maybe some people want to be different. Maybe some people just genuinely really like the movie, but I can't see it. I've seen it so many times. There's so many angles that I tried to see it with, and I just don't get it. I try and watch Rob Zombie's vision as his own, and I appreciate it in Halloween 1, although it is a little bit too much. But in this one, I would only suggest that you watch it as a non-Halloween film, a non-Michael Myers movie. Change the names in your head And even at that, it still doesn't make sense. Even at that, I still don't like it. So my memories of Halloween 2 are kind of shattered because no matter what I remember back 15 years ago, it was just disappointment after disappointment. What I think I really do need to do is find someone in the Halloween community that loves Halloween 2, get them onto my Double Scoops episode on my Halloween podcast, and really dive into what it is they love about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and why they love Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, because I think that would maybe give me a better understanding as to how some of these people see this film, and then I can understand it from there. Apart from those small memories, guys, I don't really have much to say on Halloween 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it to you, because I've got lots and lots of comments with regards to memories of Halloween 2. I'm going to go through them all. I'm going to read, not all of them, of course. I'm going to read a select few of them from you, and you can give me your memories. Now, I did skim through some of them because I can't read them all out, but it looks like half the people who commented love the film, and the other half absolutely hate the film. So Halloween 2 is like Marmite, and you'll see why in the comment section. So the first comment comes from Paul Downey. Paul said, remembering seeing it at the cinema and just being perplexed. Time has been kind though, and it has an outstanding turn from Brad Dourif. Certainly nowhere near as bad as Rob Zombie's first effort. So yeah, he did mention there Brad Dourif. There was some scenes in Halloween 2. Ironically, some of the best scenes in the entire franchise come from Halloween 2. And one of those scenes is a scene with Brad Dourif as Sheriff Brackett and his daughter Annie, played by Danielle Harris. And both of them are fantastic in this scene. When she dies and he sees her body, it's an emotional scene. And it's a shame because it's a great scene in a film that's tarnished because it was so bad. But like Paul said, he thinks time has been kind to Halloween 2. So it would be interesting to find out why time has been kind to it. Next up, we've got Alex Nash, who said, I missed it from about 30 minutes in. Well, you missed the best part then. And you said, had a strong urge to go take a Rob Zombie crap, and it kept me in the bathroom for the remainder of the film. That about sums up how I felt about it. So yeah, completely understand, Alex, because the first half an hour is probably the best part of the movie when she's in the hospital. And then if you came in after that to the rest of the movie, then I can completely understand why you spent the rest of the movie in the bathroom.
I got a Taco Deluxe Supreme talking back at me, so I'm gonna be a while.
Next, we've got Chris Snyder. Chris said, my number 2 in the franchise, number 2 as in crap. Chris said, first time I saw it was in the theatres and I hated it. I walked in expecting a different film than what we got, like how most people felt on Ends. But after rewatching it when it hit home video and knowing now what to expect, I really appreciate what Rob did with it, and I think it's a great movie. Not perfect, but really great. But I also recognise it's not a movie that will hit with everyone, but that's one reason I love it. Well, Chris, I can understand that you really love it, but you didn't really give a reason why you love it now, from when you hated it to begin with, and now you love it. But all you've said is you think it's great now, which is fine. But again, I'd love to have someone like yourself onto the channel, Chris, to really dive into the reasons why you initially hated it and now that you love it. I'm glad people do love it. I'm not saying people should hate the movie. It's your number 2 in the franchise as well. My number 2 in the franchise is Halloween H2O, which also has its haters. So I can't pull you up for that because I'm the exact same with Halloween H2O. Next up, we've got Daniel Cordillo, who said, third favourite for me after the original and Season of the Witch. Went to see Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 opening weekend. It happened to be my brother's birthday. When we get up to get the tickets, the lady working at the theatre told us that the Final Destination is better than Halloween, the Final Destination being the 4th one. We ended up seeing the Final Destination instead, only to rent Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, unrated, later on. I loved it. He hated it. It has only climbed up the ladder over the years. So again, that's another one that someone didn't really like it and it's climbed up over the years. Personally, I prefer the Final Destination over Halloween 2, and even that is a bad film. What do you guys think? What's better, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 or the Final Destination? This one's from Pippa McConnell. This isn't really a memory, but I want to read it out anyway because it kind of sums up the film. They said, self-indulgent white horse motif that only exists so Sheri Moon can return in a flashback. Tick. Absolutely. Anthwood Movie Mania said, when I first watched this in the cinema, hearing Loomis say, "These eyes will deceive you, these are the eyes of a psychopath," was a chilling line that stayed with me through the film. For me, Anth, it wasn't. I didn't like that scene. I thought it was quite cheesy, and they tried to mimic Donald Pleasance's lines from the original Halloween films, and this one just didn't have the impact for me. Storytime Spectacular said, I was 23, took my friend Christine to see it with me. We both really liked it. Ironically, as we leave, we hear a crowd of 20 people behind us saying, "Worst trash ever," and some girl was crying. Oh. We watched it together again on DVD, and I realised more why it wasn't received well. So that might be someone then that's saying they thought it was quite good to begin with, and now they don't really like it anymore, which again is the norm for most films. When you go and see a film in a cinema, it's probably the best that film has been, and then it kind of goes down after time because you stop and think about a film over time. Halloween 2 can go either way for some people because on initial watch, it can be terrible, but then when you sit back and think about it, maybe you will enjoy it. Not for me, of course, but for some other people, it can be. Ian Repash said, I was 14 in 2009, and me and my best friend to this day were dedicated to be the first ones in line for the Friday night showing. We had no adults with us to get us in, but it didn't faze us. We were there for the 2007 film Day One, that time with an adult, and we weren't going to miss this. We were so convinced we were going to be let in because we were first in line. We were very wrong. Total bummer, I remember. But my dad ended up taking us the next night to see it, and I've had the same cold response to it ever since. And I don't know if I'll ever fully understand it. So yeah, it sounds like Ian doesn't really like the film either. And I'm the same. I don't fully understand it, and I'm still cold to it to this day. Next up, we've got Rocky Sly. Rocky said, complete disappointment, disgust that a movie like this could be made and be called Halloween. A sense of being finished with the franchise because of how bad this movie was. I just can't put into words how terrible I thought the movie was. My friends and I were continually looking at each other in pure shock over how awful it was. Just awful, bad, terrible. It sounds like my explanation of it as well, Rocky. And I like the fact that you said you were finished with the franchise at that point, because I think a lot of people were finished with the franchise. And that happened back after Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. People were finished with the franchise, and Jamie Lee Curtis had to come back and save it. And it's the same with this one. Halloween 2 was so bad that Jamie Lee Curtis again had to come back and save it. I'll read one more out. We've got one from Batshit Scary. Batshit said, I remember going with an ex to go see it in Manchester. As soon as the van hits the cow, and it's just F repeated about 15 times, in 15 different ways to say the word, I felt embarrassed for the Halloween franchise. What else is there to say? One redeeming factor after that moment is Brad Douriff. We all know the scene, of course. And of course, the dream sequence was good too. That's it. The rest is about as bad as it can get for the franchise. And this franchise has Halloween 5. You kind of summed it up perfectly, but in the last comment that I'm reading out, because I agree with everything you said there. You got the good dream sequence, then you got everybody just cursing and swearing for no reason whatsoever, and then you got the one redeeming factor and the one redeeming moment with Brad Dourif and Annie. So you've kind of summed it up perfectly for me, because I agree with everything that you've said there.
Oh, no, Andy.
So that's all we've got for today, guys. Like I say, I do read all the comments. A lot of the comments are not memories. It's just telling me how you feel about the movie and where you would rank it, which is fantastic. I still read all those anyway, but I don't read them out in the memories section because we're just kind of talking about memories. So if you do want to leave memories in other videos when I do post them, then try and leave it to memories. Of course, I'd like to know how you feel about the movie. I like to know where you rank the movies in whatever franchise we're talking about. But ultimately, I'm really looking for the memories. So if you can leave memories in the next post that I do, then I'll maybe read it out in the video. But like I said, for this one, I got unprecedented amount of comments because Halloween 2 is like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it, and that's evident there. and all the comments that I was reading anyway. But to sum it up, guys, it is still one of the worst Halloween films in the Halloween franchise for me. There's no redeeming it for me. I don't understand it, and hopefully I can do a deep dive in my Halloween podcast, Double Scoops, in one of the episodes where I'll bring a guest on who loves the movie, and we can have a debate about it, why they love it, why I don't love it, and maybe how if they can explain how they see the film. But that's for another video, of course. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching again. Thanks a lot for all your comments. I do appreciate them every time that you leave them, and I'll see you soon.
Meeting adjourned.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back seat!